we're the three most humble people here.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, welcome to Tuesday Talks. My name's Alice.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Jordan.
And we're here to talk about Process, the message we heard this past weekend from Pastor Julie on the topic of humility. And at one point in the message, she talks about how she worked as a server, and humility, a lot of it's about service. And she talks about how the worst shift to have in her restaurant was the shift after church on a Sunday, because people were the rudest and they tipped the least.
Yeah.
I wonder, have you guys ever worked in a place where you've been serving, maybe it was as a on wait staff, or in some other place where you got treated that way, maybe by someone who you knew was a Christian? You got any dirty stories you want to know?
I do. I used to work as a YouTube expert, and I would have various people contact me and get advice on how to make their channels better, how to make more money. And I remember there was this one YouTuber that I got contacted by, and he was well known for having his faith kind of out in front, and yet he was still a successful YouTuber, which was rare. But he was rude and entitled and argued against me for some things that that really were kind of borderline illegal. He was wanting me to help him get around some like copyright laws, like to be able to use people's music and not have to give them credit or pay them money. And that was eye-opening, because on the other side, on the flip side, I'd have guys that were clearly had no faith at all, and they would just be the nicest people you've ever met and be like, oh, I didn't realize that was wrong. I'll stop doing that right away. And so, yeah.
It really hurts our witness, doesn't it? When, there's nothing that's easier to spot in someone else than when they lack humility. And yet there's nothing that's harder to spot in yourself than when you lack humility. What were some of the thoughts and reflections you took away from what Pastor Julie shared yesterday about this idea of humility? Jordan?
It was just a reminder of all the areas in which I need it. We're becoming more and more humble, more and more like Jesus as we're transformed by him in his presence. But yet I always find another area where normally if there's frustration or anger or some other thing that pops up, it's identifying an idol that's there, which is like, lack of humility is like a big red flag for here's an idol where Jesus has not decided to take this from me yet.
I love that. That's so true. When I get frustrated or angry, I know that that's often a clue in to like some sort of aspect of pride that's at work in myself. Where what's actually at stake isn't the thing that I'm angry about. It's my own self-image or my own importance or my own position. Those are the things. That's so good. I love that. What were some of the reflections you had on this, Jenna?
Well, I loved how Pastor Julie was pointing out that if you're sitting there and you're going, I'm the most humble person I know, that clearly you have a problem with humility. And it's kind of this really odd thing where it's so hard to recognize in yourself. And the minute you start thinking that, hey, I'm doing pretty good with humility, it's like right there's that pride. And that pride, man, it sneaks in so easily.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a great sermon. I loved how she brought it around to serving as kind of a way to combat that.
Yeah.
But I think that can also be tricky, because I know in my past I've spent so many hours serving that's actually become a point of pride that, hey, I'm volunteering 6 nights a week at the church. And that's not healthy either.
Yeah, no, it's so easy. I think one of the things I reflect on is I look back at my past self, and I can spot my pride so easily. And I do this all the time, and it just reminds me that my future self is going to look back at my present self and it's going to go, oh my word, he was so stuck up his own rear end and he didn't even realize it. It's such a wake-up call. Like, it's so hard to spot in yourself. So Jordan, that was a great example of when you sense that frustration coming through, that anger coming through. That's a clue. Do any other ways that you can kind of spot? Are there mirrors that we have that help us to spot areas where we're lacking in humility?
Your children,
Children, yeah,
spouse,
yeah.
hopefully mother or father-in-law or your own parents.
I tell you, family
Family.
is such a place to like it. Just whatever, all the bad stuff just comes out when you're together as a family. Like that's so good. Jenna, other places where you see it like a mirror for humility.
Yeah, I have an accountability group that I formed through Celebrate Recovery, and it's a bunch of ladies, and we know we're going to be completely honest with each other. So there have been times that I can actually go to them and be like, "This is what happened. Was I right? Was I wrong?" And I've had some of those women kind of speak into my life and be like, "Hey, this is becoming a problem. Have you noticed that?" You're doing this thing more and more, and you seem to be seeking that attention, and that's when I can back off of it. But yeah, I don't see it. It's really hard to see in myself. It's really easy to see in other people, though.
So let's move on to talk about like beyond how can we see it, but what can we do about it? Like and maybe part of that is, and here's something that I've tried to practice over time. Is to go to people who I know, who I'm around, and say to them, hey, like, can you offer me any feedback? And you talked about kind of maybe doing this with your accountability group, how I acted in this particular situation. Like, I think a couple of weeks ago, I remember a meeting, and I went afterwards, and I went to a couple of members of our staff, and I said, can you tell me how I came across in that meeting? Because I need some feedback, because I'm pretty sure I didn't come across how I wanted to come across. And so like that's one way to highlight it, but I also think it's one way to combat it, is to put yourself in that position where you're asking other people to give input and feedback and kind of inviting them to work on you. What are some other ways that you have found to kind of tamper down the pride and combat humility and draw upon, embrace, as we say, that humility?
I think you touched on it already, that just made me say it differently, is that starting with understanding that we know it's there. We're not wondering if it's there. We know it's there. My father-in-law quotes someone, I can't remember who it is, but he says, the prideful man thinks he's humble. The humble man knows he's proud. And so that's helpful if you know that's a going in assumption, because then you're looking for it. Instead of asking yourself, is it there? It's like, well, I know it is. Other ways, frankly, are just spending time praying or meditating quietly before the Lord, or in Scripture, and it comes up so quickly. I'm constantly amazed at the Holy Spirit's ability to use an offhand or an off-topic comment by someone who doesn't know what's going on with me and the family back home, and I'll be like, oh, I just spoke to exactly what happened to this morning. I said that one thing to my daughter Lydia, and it doesn't take long before it's right there.
Yeah, that was one of the things Pastor Julie said, was the disciples in the story that she was sharing, they hadn't been formed by Jesus, and she encouraged us to read the Bible if we didn't already do that, and directed us to a great resource, and you can find that resource at chapelhillpc.org/Bible, and it will take you straight to the Bible in 1 year. So if you don't have a habit of reading the Bible, that's such a great way. The Bible is literally like a mirror that can be put up in front of us. So what about you, Jenna? What are some ways you found to combat pride in your life?
Well, there's a saying I love, and it says that humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking more of others. And so one of the things that I really try to do, that I try to practice, is to kind of put myself in other people's shoes. So to really kind of stop and think sometimes, and kind of like reflect on, how did my behavior come off to that person? Or when I start getting upset about something, thinking, realizing that, hey, I need to think about what's going on in their world, not just what's going on in my world. I even use that sometimes when I'm driving. I live near all the Gig Harbor roundabouts, and there have been a couple incidents in the past couple weeks where I pride myself on being a good driver, and I've had a couple people be upset at me, like honking, following me, stuff like that, and immediately my response, my first response is wanting to go, well, I'm in the right, you're in the wrong. But it's helped me to kind of stop and pause for a moment and be like, did I really, like, maybe I did make a mistake. I don't know. Those roundabouts they're crazy. And if I did, I am so sorry. It was not intentional. But at the same time, just also realizing that, hey, those other drivers, this might have been an incident in a long string of very difficult incidents that way. And so having, a lot of grace and mercy towards other people and really kind of thinking about what's going on in their lives helps me to be a little bit more humble in mine.
That's great. Pastor Julie had that phrase that she took out of the passage, "Not so with you." She talked about how she'd repeat that to herself when she saw her kind of pride rearing its ugly head. "Not so with you, not so with you, not so with you." And I mean, really, that's one of the ways I found scripture memorization to be so useful. Is it's something you can carry with you everywhere you go, and it can be used to help you to God to transform you from the inside out. So, any final thoughts you guys have on this topic of humility?
Just that curiosity helps a lot too. Being curious, not furious.
I like that.
Yeah. Oh, it comes up so often with parenting's big for me because we got 3 little ones and one on the way, and so it's constantly on my mind. And I am surprised. My pride is surprised how often I will pause and ask one of the kids why they did whatever it was they did, and it will have been very apparent. Like, you watched the whole thing, not like heard it and tried to figure it out, but like you watched it, and the responses that I get just blow me away, and I'm like, oh, okay, I had no idea what was going on there. Buddy, that was very clever, but let's not do that again, and it helps so much to start with being curious, I've found, because my pride wants to jump in there and say exactly what I saw, what happened, and correct it right there.
Yeah.
So being curious is big for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
And I think I think a big thing for me is just like being in community in community, and like not just reading the Bible and praying by yourself, but knowing you're part of a community that does that, and to keep each other accountable. There's a reason why Jesus had, his 12 disciples, and he left them to be with each other as a group. So that they could hold each other accountable. And I think that is so important in our Christian walk, to not only come to church on Sunday mornings, but to have a small group, whether it's a life group or Celebrate Recovery or a Bible study that you're going to just have that kind of feed into your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're watching this video and you don't have that sort of community, we have so many different ways that you can engage in community here at Chapel Hill. And I would encourage you, head to our website and click on the Connect tab and explore the different ways to do that. Life groups are a really easy way to connect into community. Celebrate Recovery, as we mentioned, is another one on Wednesday nights. So feel free, you can come along to that at 6:30 on a Wednesday here at the church and be a part of community.
Well, and if you don't want to join a program, it can be as simple as coming to church and tapping the person next to you in the pew and saying, hey, you want to go grab coffee after this?
Yeah.
So,
that's it. Absolutely. Well, appreciate you guys. Thanks for taking the time to process this through. And I think every single one of us has been challenged. And so this week is going to be a week of practicing walking out. What does it look like to battle pride in our lives? So thanks for joining us. Like this video if you liked it. Feel free to shoot a comment down below if you have a question. We'll try and answer it in an upcoming video. And subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell if you want to be notified every time we post a video. We've got new content coming out every few days. Have a great week.